All right, all you devils, how's it going? Happy Friday. Sam here with you. Let's see, it's 12:30 here on Friday the 16th. We're going to do an update here. Oh, big picture here on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think I'm going to start over here on, this is on Motive Wave. I think this is the cleanest look at it. Well, and of course, not everybody agrees with this count, but in terms of the interpretation of the correction here, I've mentioned this a couple of times. I lean into this count here as my primary. Of course, all it takes is for a push higher, push lower, and a primary can turn into a secondary, right? It's always just just a snapshot in time. Right now, this looks like a pretty clean count. And that's just a little bit unusual I don't know. Well, let's say it's not your typical ending scenario here. So if we're going to hold this as an A, B, well, it gets a little unusual here. So big extension in the 1 through that ABC, 2, ABC into the 3. Did we just put in the 4? Well, you could make a case for it. We'd be looking for another ABC to finish down here at a 50, right in line with the prior pivot back in the 17 pivot here. Oh, 14, 15K here, 14K. I'm over here on Coinbase. Can we get this to come down here and kind of give us the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that 50? It's a pretty clean count, right? Can it be counted other ways? Sure, right? You could, and there are many who look at this and go, well, that's not an A, that's a 1, that's a 2, 3, because you can squeeze an impulse in there, 4. Could do it a couple of different ways. I don't. If you get to the same conclusion here that we're completing our correction here in this range, I don't know that it matters dramatically how you get there, as long as it's valid. You've got a decent looking count. You're adhering to rules and guidelines. Now I did have a few people comment last week. Maybe they're kind of newer to Elliott here. So it was a few people commenting. Hey, well, 3 would be shorter than 1. Well, of course, in an ending diag, that's not an issue. There's no rule break there. 3 does not have to be the longest, just can't be the shortest. So there would be an invalidation here potentially if we're pushing dramatically lower towards the golden zone, to where if 5 did get longer than 3, then we would have an invalidation. But here, where we have the extension in the 1 per this count as currently labeled, perfectly valid. Just a series of 3s to get us done here at the 50. 14K it actually tees up so nicely here. Well, of course, here in semi-log here, it tees up so nicely, and you just look, oh, well, if that's a 1, we're coming back to the 50, duh. Well, yeah, it's always easy after the fact, right? After all of this comes down, right? And certainly, I've had a lot of interpretations here that have been just wildly wrong, right? So my initial thought was we were going into a triangle. And as this has just gone lower and lower and more bad news after more bad news, welcome to trading. That's the reality here. You're constantly adjusting to what the market's doing and then looking for, do we have evidence here that we could be coming into an area where it would make sense to take any action here. So if you've been, bull only, as much of my analysis has been, well, it's been bull only, or just baloney. I don't know if one or the other here, but it's been a long year watching this just grind lower and lower and lower. Now, are we done here? Are we potentially setting up here to be done? Well, hard to say, right? There's a general consensus that the FTX debacle there are still casualties to come. Oh, and so a little bit of disconcerting reading circulating through crypto Twitter about pressure on the Tether or potentially some stablecoin issues that could be the next significant hammer to hit crypto. And let's hope that's not the case. How would a trader know, right? So if that's the case, if you're worried about that, you're kind of stuck, right? So either you're going to get out of your position, and many of you may be at a drawdown. My last position here at 22, certainly in the drawdown. Last time I was a buyer. You got to make a decision that if you're nervous, right? If you're going to sleep nervous about, well, another leg is coming. Well, There are a few ways you could hedge that, but I mean, if you're really uncomfortable and you're concerned they're going to hit tether next, and we're going down to 4 or 5, 2, $3,000. Well, I said, can you sustain that drawdown? If you're a hodler, you got to look at the math there and say, well, if I'm parking money here, it could be a long wait to see that come back above wherever your entry is. Now I'm interested down here in this 14, well, let's call it 12 to 14K range here from this pivot here to this pivot. We come into this, I might even ladder in from 14 to 12, recognizing we certainly could. We'd have to change the pattern, likely. If we were going to come down, oh shit. If we're going to come down, can I get that hot? Let's see, let's get it this way. Here we go. If we're coming down here, well, likely we'd have to rethink this, because you'd have a very real scenario here for the 5th to get longer than the 3rd, right? You can just see it here. So if we're coming this low, this has got to be rethought, relabeled. Depending on the swing structure here, we might have more to work with here, but as it sits right now, I don't think we need to go there yet. Right now, that looks like that's got Jesus, I'm having a hard time getting that isolated. Oh, come here. All right, so there we go. That looks like a pretty reasonable location for a finish, right? Again, now that's a little hopey, I'm sure. I understand that. But then just looking at the chart objectively, okay, is there structural support potential, right? It's always just potential. Is there a pattern here that would make sense? Swing structure here is getting shorter, right? There's the FTX news, right? We're getting shorter, and some people, you could make a case that if it's, as I said last week, if it's so bad in crypto, why is Bitcoin holding here? And I mean, well, I'm assuming you consider us sitting here at 16, 17 holding. Well, we haven't had a complete meltdown, and certainly there's plenty of pressure on risk assets right now. Just looking at the stock markets, they're just getting absolutely hammered. So it's a tough environment here for risk on. So you got to be very selective. Another thought here is if you have the capital and you're comfortable parking some dollars here, you might be looking at some dollar cost averaging in here, maybe the 50. You could use, that's essentially what I'm going to do, right? Looking at the 50, the next pivot here, if we're going to keep going lower, I'd probably continue buying right up to 12. Right? Then you're going to have to rethink this. If we get an extension here, this has to be relabeled. That wouldn't put me at net drawdown, because I'm just probably just good luck, right? So my initial purchases are much lower, but that's not the case for many. So you got to make a personal decision there. If you're looking to dollar cost average in there, that money could be parked there for a while. So don't use money that you might need. Oh, there's a few other ways you could, if you're going to put capital there, and we may venture into that based on level of interest. We may circle back to that. But as we sit here looking at this count, I think this is not unreasonable to have some light buying teed up in this range here, 14, 12, in that range. Well, that's my plan. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just telling you what I plan to do. Okay, so with that said, I think that's a decent swing structure here to be keeping an eye on right now. That doesn't mean that is the swing structure. That's a swing structure here that can make a case is valid. Here, I'm just looking. This is, as we've been looking at the Brave New Coin, where I get a little more history here. This is the weekly, so we're delayed here. But the same, always, we've been looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4. Did we just get that potentially right enough to get us to finish there? Let me go, here, let me pause. I switched over here to BitGet. Of course, this is being a trading chart here. I've gone to an 8-hour, and of course, I'm going to focus on BitGet here because they sponsor us, right? So it's my little promo for BitGet. If that interests you, links underneath the chart or underneath the video. Okay, so we get a little more detail here. This is, you probably have different opinions here about how to count that. I think you got an impulse here you got to deal with. So A, expand the B into the C. 3, 4 gives us a 1. A, B, C into the 2. I can squeeze a 3 in here. Now, did we just do per this count here, right? So it looks like we could work an A, B, C into a slight front run on this 50. And just, it's close enough. That very well could be a front run. We'd have targets down here. This is the 14 and change. So what we'd be looking for here, and we may have a start on it. A, B, See, something like that. Bring it in. Maybe a little too sharp there. Might take a little bit longer going into the first of the new year. That'd be first couple of weeks of January, first 2 weeks of January. Bring in there. So would not be surprising at all to have it do something like this. Oh, we'll just use the golden zone here. So something like this would bring us down here. I don't know how far we go here or what we're doing here, but that looks like a reasonable route. If we're going to hold in this series of threes, let's see, A, B, C, A, B, C. So, yeah, you can see this. All the threes are there. Did I have this? I've changed this count so many times. 1, 2, right, as the market dictates. A, B, C. A, B, C, now A, B, C, and we have a candidate here for a potential pattern that we can recognize as a potential location to have this all resolve, and now, right, so, right, and then it becomes the process of working through all the resistance to fight back, which is going to be right, it's going to take some muscle, the environment's going to have to change, something's going to have to change as we go into the new year. This risk-off atmosphere, it's going to need a refresh cycle. There's going to have to be some triggers. Now, we don't know what they may be, and we don't know if there's more bad news coming to the crypto space, so you just have to be prepared for anything, which is why it's always a good idea to have multiple counts teed up. Have a primary, have a secondary. So if we get something like this, you're not completely at a loss. What we do know here, if we were to get something like this, we'd have to the entire account would have to be restructured, as we would have invalidated the potential ending diag, right? So if 5 gets longer than 3, so shit, we can do it right here. If indeed this is going to hold as our 3, well, we get down here to 12,218, we have invalidated that count, right? As 5 would be longer than 3, so we'd have to rethink it. Okay, so we're not there yet, so let's not go into panic mode like, oh shit, well, here it comes. Well, it's not looking great in there at the moment. Let's go try that 2 hour, see how we look coming down here. Boy, that's a mighty thin retrace right there. Jeez, do we even have enough there to work with? Oh, that's frustrating when you see that, I know. Is that 1, 2? Well, I know gets really gnarly in there, which I hate doing, right? So is that a 1, 2? God, you're gonna have to go to a 5 minute to get that, to see. This is the only reason I would ever go down to something that low, and I don't even think you have it there. Oh, that's brutal. That's just waterfall. Actually, this comes over here. We're all the way down to the 5 minute waterfall. Yeah, it's ugly. There's no question about it. Let's go back to an hourly. This 3, I mean, it's the best ABC. That's about all I can get out of that. Oh, that's not much of a retrace. That's just drop dead ugly. On a 1 hour from this, what looked like a decent pivot here. So you get the nice 5 coming up here, right? This is what you're hoping to see, right? We get nice. Oh, that's probably. Oh, let's just go and keep it simple. Let's not get lost on that. Something along those lines here, where I get this nice, what would appear the swing structure here accommodates a benign. I'm probably go down to a 2-3 minutes. That looks like you got a little ABC in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are up there. Boom. We go up for the 4. It's an ABC. It's all nice and clean. Nice and clean. What do we do with that? That's challenging for the Elliottician here. You've got almost nothing. Well, shit, I suppose you can do it. Actually, I don't even think it's worth a try right here. It's such a. Here's what I can promise you: 10 Elliotticians are going to give you 10 different counts here. So until I get something I can work with here, my inclination is to stick with the larger time swing here, and let's go with what's inferred, right? So we come back here. So we're trying to analyze that move there. Do we need to? Well, out here at this degree on a daily, probably not, right? If you're day trading this, I don't think you have enough here to work with. I mean, I wouldn't go near that. actually, because I don't know where I am or what's happening here. That's all I can see. Okay, well, there's 2 standard deviations here. Okay, I got a little push here. I can see the supply. I got no demand down here at this. Well, I'm on a 1 hour. I've got almost nothing down here. Well, I'd have some potential demand here. Let's go back to a 4 here, and we'll see if I have it on focus only. So we'll see. Okay, well, so here obviously we'll see some demand zones down here. Let's get you out of there. Okay, we blew through 1. We're on the edge of the second one right here. Now that's wick only, so we haven't invalidated, which is why it's still there. When that bar closes, if we close below, that will, and then the next stop would be down here at 16 and 5. There's not a lot to do with that. I mean, you can use some of your skills and your fib tools here. Okay, maybe we work up an ABC, right? It's mighty skinny on the B, but something, that's all I've got to work with really here. To come back here, now, okay, maybe I can, if I come down into this, and we come down into, okay, I'm at a demand zone here. I'm at something where, okay, I've got a classic measured move. A to B equals C to D, right? If you can call that a B. A, B, C. The implication would be, oh, well, that looks likely, probable. What do I got below here? Well, I'm on a 4 hour here. I've got both. So I've got a percent B here and an RSI. So just showing me here, we're well beyond 2 standard deviations. If I had a series of Bollinger Bands on that. So this is nice just to get a sense of volatility here. And obviously, right, volatility is extreme. So you see where we're going. Let me show you here. Bollinger Bands are going up. Oh, where are my doubles? There we are. Okay. All right, so we're getting well outside of 2 standard deviations. We got above here. You can see these here as we're ripping down here. That's way beyond 2 standard deviations. Now, that's an increase in volatility. So it's just as all right, there's the contraction, right? There's the squeeze. You see it. That's such a great indicator, right? John Carter, really a great contribution to TA with these, right? And we've been doing a lot of option trading lately, and these are an option trader's best friend, right? You're looking for, particularly if you're an option buyer, you're looking for low volatility because the implication it leads to high volatility. And you see that happening over and over again here when you're writing Bitcoin, right? So we get the squeeze here, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, right? So it's over and over and over again. It's just how the market moves. So this being a particularly good example here, and you see the squeeze. That's why I like that. What is this thing? It's It's called max momentum. Right? I like the nice indicator. I just prefer it to the TTM squeeze histogram. It's just personal preference. I don't know if one's any more effective than the other. I just like this one, and it'll be comparable to an Elliott oscillator, which would be a 534. This is a what is it? Oh, shit, I can't remember what it is. It's like a 2513. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. All right, you can tweak these to your heart's content if you prefer something different, right? Have at it. Pretty good vol coming through here. So the advantage of having the percent B down here is that I don't need the Bollinger Bands on, which can kind of get in your way when you're we're trying to do some Elliott labeling. So we'll just take that off, but it's kind of nice to, if you wanted to check there, to know, like, okay, there's my contraction points. So if we're going to continue to come down here, well, would this be, what would you think here? Oh, maybe you'd have the A, B, see, right? That's what we're looking for, right? 14 down here. Here's 14. Here's 14, right? What we're looking for, maybe I can get that A to come down here. A, some sort of ugly A, B, C. Right. Maybe we'll go 618 here. Retrace here to that supply zone, back down to 14. Right? You have a candidate here, and we just kind of watch all of this. You'd have a candidate here for a potential, right? It's just that. Up to the individual here, if you want to start dollar cost averaging in here, the more conservative ways, look for a reaction. Right? Do you get a 5 there? It doesn't matter what it takes, right? If it diag, impulse, just right. That's the safer play right there, right there. If heavy emphasis, if we get something like that, right? That's the safer way to do it. Now, don't have this, don't have this, don't have this, don't have this. So that's kind of that's a little hopium puzzle right there. That's what you'd like to see, and if that comes, well. Okay, I think most of you will know, certainly members, right? We'll be all over that. YouTube subs, I would think you'd have a decent idea as to what what you want to do here. Of course, the other alternative, if you don't like that, is trade. Oh, I can't remember if I can do it. Trade this. All right, you want to get better positioning here with lower risk. Well, see, if you're taking it here, okay, oh, great, right at the 50, prior structure here, all good. Where's your stop? Down here. Right, you're looking for the 3, right? So you want to give that. So the risk reward, that's why you would do it that way. So if this is 1, 2, and you're going to take the long here, well, you got to think about your size here, because where's your stop? Right here, right? So you got to be able to absorb that. Should that be an incorrect analysis and the market drops, stops you out. But the reason you would want to do less size here is so you can stay longer, because you'd be looking for the 3. And what you don't want to do is take it the size here so big that if you got to here, you're like, oh fuck, I gotta take it. I got to take that, man. I can't risk that coming down. That's a common problem. People take too much size here, and then we get right here and they get nervous. Oh shit, but double top, I better take it, right? And then it does this because you were too heavy on the size. You got nervous, and shit. I've been there many times, particularly in the S&P. If you're day trading, you got something like, oh shit, I'm up $300-400. I don't want to give that back, because $300-400 can be gone in the blink of an eye in the S&P. So we do something like this here. You want to be able to sustain it. Look what you're gonna have to get through. 1, 2, 3 areas of demand, potential demand, right? Right. This right now, we potentially have a breaker block here, broken order block. If we're coming back up here, we got to get through all that. Go, right? So you don't do too much size here. If you'd rather do something bigger, do it here. That way the distance to your stop is smaller. So if you want to be a little more aggressive on the size, or you're going with leverage here, you can go a little bigger here. Here, you got to think that through. Okay, wait a minute. If it comes all the way back down here and I'm trading with 10x leverage, boy, can I absorb that? Or what's the impact to my account, right? That's often the mistake people make. They don't really think about, oh, how much impact is that going to be to my account? Right? You start going into deep drawdown, it's going to be a long, well, did I mention long road back? Okay, so I think we're clear here. I don't know that there's a lot to do other than kind of ride the storm out, right? Much like the market. Certainly, there's shorter term opportunities, but if we stay, as I think, right, Elliott is most effective here. We stay out on these larger degrees here. Come on in, right? It looks like it's teed up. Like after all of the miscues and wrong and relabeling and nope, wrong again. You got a candidate here. Now, nothing says couldn't be wrong again, right? But get used to being wrong more than you're right. Get used to it, right? It's just the nature of trading. I don't know anyone who doesn't experience that, right? You just, that's why there is no professional that's going to tell you that it's anything other than it's always about money management, because everybody is wrong more than they're right. And if you're having a good year and you're right more than you're wrong, well, hang on to it, man. Take a picture, because the odds of that sustaining over your career are very, very low. So how do you make money if you're going to be wrong more than you're right? All right, full circle back to money management, right? That's the only way you can do it. It's the only way the math can work, right? You got to make more when you're right than when you lose when you're wrong. So, right, that's just, I know that's the boring shit. Oh man, are we going to talk money management? Oh, come on, man. Where's the TA? Let's take some rippers. That's fun. That's entertainment. That's not trading. That's not professional use of your capital and putting it at risk and then preserving capital, right? Number one job, name of the game is stay in the game. All right, so I don't know if there's much more to add on Bitcoin. We're just going to have to ride this out. Sure looks like there's more down to come. I'd love to be wrong, but right now, path of least resistance remains down. Okay, is that any different in Ethereum? Well, oh shit, I'm going to have to find them. Okay, let's look at Ethereum. All right, so if we come over now to Ethereum, still can make a case here that we've done a 3-4. It is hard to reconcile that if Bitcoin is going to have another drive down to get to those 12, 13, 14K range, could Ethereum hold above this pivot low here at, what did we get there? Oh, 8 and change. Right. Perhaps. So I mean, the only reason I think you can sustain this count here is because the depth of the 4 here is not as deep as Bitcoin. Of course, take it out of this being semi-log, take it out of that, right? It's certainly deep enough. But on log scale here, where we have the range to support looking in log here, could it be the 4 going to the 5? The disconnect between the two gives me pause. But it's, again, this is a valid count. Now we shall see how that plays out. Let's go over here. This is where I think it gets a little, hang on, push that off. It gets a little trickier to sustain that because as we dig into some of the structure here. So now I'm over to a trading chart on BitGet with a 4-hour. Okay, this is a reasonable case here for this impulse off of the low here. Now it's gotten a little bit trickier here. So can you do this as an ABC? Well, you can, right? So you can get a 5 here. You're pushing it 3. Okay, could we be done here? Okay, so leading diag off of the low. In the context of if Bitcoin's going to go down, this low certainly is vulnerable. Not to mention the finish here is a little, it's not ideal. Okay, but we don't need ideal, right, to get a reasonable look at where there may be support. So it looks like we're coming right into it. This is a little shaky here, this 5. This is prominent 5, decent 3. Okay, good. Now we're getting really skinny here. That's not your dream setup, but you can see, right, the extension in the 1, big retrace. Now we start to grind down. So it's not like you've never seen that before. Where I think it gets a little more problematic is you can certainly interpret this a different way. So let's just do that on the fly so that, okay, we can look at it here. And so ABC, all right, mighty deep for the 2 relative to this 1, 2, but valid. All right, let's come in here. Is this justifiable? Okay. Well, you'd have to do a 3, 3, 5, right? There's a clear impulse here. So you'd have to do 1A, expand the B, 5 down for the C. You got 5 here. Oh, this looks like you'd have to do a WXY, right? ABC, ABC, ABC. So WXY into that 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, right? It's not beautiful, but doable. Okay, well, so where are we now? If this is going to hold, if that's a good 5, right? It actually is an impulse. Because we're putting the 1 here rather than, oh shit, can we get that? I'm going to double check that. Yeah, we can. Okay, so I can get an impulse here. Now what am I doing with that? I got just a waterfall. Again, is that ABC? Boy, that seems like you just passed me the hopium pipe here and I took a big hit on it. Skinny, mighty skinny. It looks like you can get a 5 here. Is that your B? Or 1, 2. Well, if it's 1, 2, again, this is going to be a challenge here to hold this. So that makes you think, okay, well, wait a minute. Let's assume that that's wrong, right? If Bitcoin's going to go, which is per what we just looked at, the implication is the low down here for Bitcoin is going to go. So what would you do with it then? Well, we can just do this here on the fly. Let's see what we do here. All of this goes out the window. So what would you think here? Well, this looks to me like there's a 5. There's a good 3. I can probably do it either way. 1, 2, 3. That looks like the. Well, let's just tee that up. Well, here, let's do the full ABCs. 3, 4, 5, A, B. Well, if we go C here, now you're going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, same issue we had before. We're just doing it as an ABC. You're still calling that the 5. Well, let's finish it. So that would be W, X. Right. So if we're going to go A, is that the B and the C still to come? Well, all right. We could hold that as long as we stay above. If right, we stay above that pivot there. Could you squeeze out there? Well, possible, right? Possible. Oh, I guess here we'll finish it. Probably something along those lines here for an X. Now, where are we looking for an X? Let's get you right down on that. Well, we know this was, we had a series here, right? So golden zone here, right? We had a series. Now I'm going to pull here. This would be in the pocket, right? Ideally, you'd get the golden zone. There's 618. We don't quite get there, but that's a decent X. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, A. Well, let's consider that A, B. Can we squeak it in right here and stay above that pivot? Well, we didn't quite get a 50 here. Close. All right, front run. Well, we got you have two targets here, and then you have the low. So certainly you could. What are we doing here? We're looking for a 5. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Boy, it's mighty skinny. I know that's a little hopium hit right there. We'll see, right? So how far this needs to go, but depending on how we come into next week, right, and what's happening in just risk assets in general, if Bitcoin's getting a push, seems likely that ETH would go with it. Not guaranteed, but this is a shaky 5 as it is. Oh, you can certainly see a path to a 3 here. Shit, how could you could do it a couple of different ways. I don't know that matters. Oh, maybe we do it this way. Get that in there. Probably open to interpretation. Same thing. Here's the Bollinger Bands. We're pushing outside of 2 standard deviations. Kind of flat here. If I open that, oh, it looks like that's all I need to do. Open it. Not much here as we deep FTX. Little divergence, right? That gives us that little kicker, but no legs, and down we go again today. Could we come in down here? Well, it sure looks like we're starting on it. Okay, starting. See how far that goes. But I'd be prepared for this to go lower. This is the threat, right? That's the target. Will be the dominant low. Can they take this out? Down here, high 8s. And then then it's going to start to look a lot more like Bitcoin here. Let's open this up here, where we have this potential, right? It's just that, right? It's always just that potential. This kind of how far do we want to go up here? I guess we'll go up to the pivot here. So all Wyckoff heads, right? We're probably looking here. Is it accumulation or distribution? I'm inclined to go with I'm inclined to go with accumulation rather than distribution, right? Many, I'm sure, will differ with me. It's just where's your bias, right? And my bias is going to, for Bitcoin and ETH, is going to stay long. But as I said in the Bitcoin video, right, bull only has been bull lonely, right? And taking a lot of heat, a lot of drawdown, and a lot of, well, if you're bullish, right, you've just been wrong for a long time. Well, let's see. Can we say, are we saying that we're no longer in a bull market for Bitcoin? Well, it depends on the time frame you're looking at. But certainly hasn't been good for bulls since our pivot at 69. Long grind lower. And we don't know if all the FTX news has been fully absorbed by the market. It's the unknown that's the concern right now. Okay, guys, that's pretty much all I got. Okay, so we've got, we'll have a few new things coming, and probably some opportunities for some promotion coming towards the end of the year. We've just launched a whole new section because my concern is crypto is going to stay stagnant, potentially lower to stagnant to sideways for a good chunk of time. So we polled the members, and of course members know this, although we're just getting started over there with doing some option trading in the equities market. So looking primarily at the larger assets and looking at some option trading. It keep very, very conservative right now, just purchases only. So we're doing spreads so that we can offset some of the risk. And that's just that. Again, as I said, that's just getting started here, and we'll start to put some more attention here. Most of that has all been just on members only, but we'll get some over here on YouTube for you guys as well as that develops, assuming that the member interest stays consistent and starts to grow. Right now it's a small group, so the advantage is kind of small group trading. Okay, guys, that's all I got for the day. Let's look for hopefully some better looking charts as we come into the end of the year. All right, guys, have a good weekend. I'll be back on Monday too. Let's see. Monday, Tuesday, I think we'll be doing more option trading here. So I'm not sure if we'll be. Maybe we'll get some of that on up on YouTube. But I'll be back at some point next week. Okay, guys, take it easy.